Right, so welcome back to Tech360.tv, and one of the few things that got me excited when I heard the DJI was making an RS3 Mini, I couldn't wait to see if it could stack up against its bigger counterparts, the RS3 and the RS3 Pro, because those two gimbals were already a phenomenal build of their own, and having used the first clunky Ronin for me, it was just too heavy. And this contrasting lightweight version has just been such a joy to use, weighing only 1.75 pounds. While it may not support extensive payloads, nor does it serve as a complete solution to all situations, I for one find it to be the perfect partner for most of these mirrorless cameras, yet costing only $369. So as mentioned earlier, this gimbal is super lightweight, and while some of its parts are not made out of carbon fiber like the RS3 Pro, it's apparently still 50% lighter according to DJI. But of course, the RS3 Pro was made to handle up to 4.5 kilos or 10 pounds and has way more features. This RS3 Mini can only manage up to 2 kilos or 4.4 pounds. Then again, I still feel as though this gimbal could suit most videographers looking for something less intrusive and something that could actually fit into their camera bag. Knowing how many gimbal manufacturers out there such as Zhiyun have been eyeing content creators who want something simple without the extra features, and I really believe that this is DJI's answer to that in a way. I was out the other day with a friend who was using a Zhiyun's lightweight gimbal, and I've got to admit, when it comes to design and build quality, DJI are really in a class of their own. Somehow like that Zhiyun gimbal just felt like plasticky. DJI had also considered the same balancing procedures that the RS3 and RS3 Pro had, which came with automated lock axis functions. This only has manual locks. Not as fancy, but it's still better than not having it at all. I even timed myself trying to balance this from the default position to fully balanced and managed to get it done under about 3 minutes. So relatively quite fast. Because I guess there's just far less prep work compared to bigger setups that might get in the way, like hanging cables or focus motors. And DJI also suggests that this will still be able to handle some of Sony's G Master lenses. But of course, don't expect it to withstand a huge telephoto lens. But an interesting addition that was added is a native mounting point for vertical shooting, which is on the side here. And it works when you remove this secondary plate that allows it to shoot in horizontal mode. So now you've technically decreased the overall load by about 10 grams, and this little plate, which balances the general roll axis, now acts as a quick release plate, so you could mount it on and off very quickly with very little calibrations required. In a flux, I think this is a simple and ingenious solution for maximizing functionality without compromising the overall size. Even the 1.4-inch touchscreen feels very intuitive and in some cases a little too sensitive as well. Considering how most of the pre-saved modes can be accessed through the dedicated M button, there's still an option to select different modes from the touchscreen itself. There's also a native rail on the side for third-party attachments or DJI's own briefcase handle, which is sold separately. I didn't get around too much using the dial at the front here, which acts as an external control for the camera, but I'm glad that it's still there for shooters who might actually want to use this feature. And yeah, it depends on what cameras do you use. If it's a Sony, then most likely you can pair this up. But yeah, still depends on what cameras you use to take full advantage of this. For the motors itself, I personally feel like it's perfect for those casual shoots where you might need a gimbal, but not so much when you might have situations where the gimbal is hanging outside of a car type scenario. Personally, I often found it not to be strong enough to withstand winds that got too harsh as the car moved at faster speeds on the highway. Anything above 60 kilometers an hour just became unbearable for the gimbal to handle, even when I set the motor strength to a higher level. So yeah, hanging this outside of a window of a moving car might not be such a great environment for it. But to be fair, I could have been asking a bit too much from something of this size. But the overall smoothness you get in the Z-axis, which is the up and down motion you get when walking in a straight line, seems to be as good as DJI's heavier gimbals. And I love the fact that operating this one-handed is way more possible now. Not to say that I condone one-handed use, it's just good to know that even while the overall length of this gimbal might cause you to bend down a little more to get lower to that ground shots, it's at least more manageable when having it in underslung mode and only requires one hand to operate it due to the overall lightweight setup. The only thing I wish they could have brought over from the standard RS3 or RS3 Pro was the swappable battery grip. In this case, it's one entire module, but at least it still has superb battery life. DJI says this will run continuously for about 10 hours, and I myself only had to charge this every 2 days or so while still having another 20% left. It also charges relatively quickly, which should get you back up to 100% in 2.5 hours. I mean, some of the first Ronins didn't have a terrible life per se, but I have experienced accidentally leaving it on when it was stored away. And when it was go time, the gimbal was completely dead and I just didn't have the time to charge it. So I'm really glad they've taken some precautions in these new gen gimbals for those instances to not have an effect anymore, by just simply having an auto sleep function when you might have forgotten to switch it off. In more ways than one, I can foresee this RS3 Mini being a very popular choice for shooters who don't necessarily need the pro features that require extensive attachments or something that isn't too clunky till you'd have to lug it around separately instead of being able to fit into a camera bag. I personally found it to be really handy when moving from location to location and having the arms locked and just carrying it around like a briefcase without entirely dismantling the camera. Just to give you context, the RS3 Mini is priced at $369. The RS3 is priced at $549. The RS3 Pro goes for $869. So about $200 separating the three, which is fairly reasonable to its pros and cons. For me personally, for the work that I do, I'd probably get the standard RS3 instead of this, plainly because of its stronger motors. Either way, they're all great gimbals, including this RS3 Mini, and I think it's just safe to say that DJI are just unbeatable at this point for coming with the best gimbals and drones on the market year after year. Then again, maybe I might just be subconsciously hoping for something else to come along to match their design, build, and quality. If that day ever comes, maybe I'll pierce my ears or something. So yeah, who knows? I don't want to bite my tongue on that. And yeah, that's my full review of the DJI RS3 Mini. And if you have any questions, again, just let me know in the comment section down below. Subscribe if you haven't already. And thank you for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.